Hey, good evening, everybody, and happy Thursday night, and welcome to the Red Zone, a place where we come together as leaders from across the country and just banter back and forth about things that are so important about the job we love. That's helping education become better in all different places. My name is Dean Packard. I'm the principal of Charlton Middle School in Charlton, Massachusetts. Alongside me, I got a great cast tonight, and I'm going to first start off by kicking it right down south right here to Principal Tovar. How are you, sir? Nice to see you.
Nice to see everybody. Josh Tovar, proud principal of Memorial Pathway Academy in Garland ISD, Garland, USA, representing right here. Just had an awesome parent night. Introduce our parents, because if you don't know or you do know, our community, our clients are from students from out of country, from Vietnam, from Afghanistan, from different parts of Africa, from French Quebec. And so it's that whole transition into the American way of life. And it's an awesome experience to have all of these cultures, the true melting pot of the United States. I'm very blessed to be there, hyped up, having all those happy faces, enjoying that American way. So I'm ready to go for tonight's Red Zone because we have some awesome guests. And now I'm going to kick it over to this guy right here, right next to me.
What's up, everybody? Hey, Tom Murray here, Director of Innovation for Future Ready Schools. Because of these two, I would say recovering principal. No, absolutely love that job. But also get to speak and connect with educators from coast to coast each and every day. Honored to be with you all. Excited to talk about what we're going to talk about tonight. So thanks for having me.
Great to have you.
And up on top,
I guess I'm going to kick it upstairs.
There you go, upstairs.
Hi, everybody. My name is Michael Arriola. I'm the Director of Secondary Math and Science in the Garland, USA, Garland ISD, the most equitable district in the state of Texas, voted recently. So I'm 9 years as a high school principal, eager to share my experiences in anything that I can to help.
Hey, Michael, we're going to start with you since you were the last one to go right there. Let's dig a little deeper into your background, okay? What is your ascending ladder to where you are today? How'd you get there? What's it all about? Why don't you share a little bit about your pedigree?
Yeah, so I started off as a teacher in Carrollton Farmers Branch, which is a suburb of Dallas. Is where I was placed as a student teacher. I'd never heard of it before. I went to Dallas ISD schools, graduated from Sunset High School. Really enjoyed going in Carrollton. My initial job was teaching and coaching. Loved it. Did 7th grade, 8th grade, STAR tested subjects. Really fell in love with it. Then I wanted to move into the administration. So one of my principal at the time really pushed me to do that. Saw a lot of potential in me. Encouraged me to apply for a job. I applied in October, got the job. And then on Friday, I was teaching 8th grade U.S. history. And on Monday, I was working at R.L. Turner High School. And it was quite the transition. And so from there, I was assistant principal under fantastic leadership. Learned a lot, moved to school off of AYP. Those of you who've been around for a long time know what that means. And then got the opportunity to be the principal at the Early College High School at Brookhaven. Also in Carrollton Farmers Branch ISD there for 4 years, a small school, principal at age 30 of a high school with only one staff member who was younger than me. So that's a unique experience. It was there for 4 years. We were A-rated all 4 years, got better every year. Then took on the challenge of Newman Smith High School, which was our comprehensive high school. Had been struggling up to that point, but we were able to turn it around a little bit, and then made the move to Garland ISD to be closer to my home, and had a great opportunity to take over North Garland High School. We were flying through, awesome year, on pace to be the first A-rated high school in the history of Garland ISD, and then COVID hit. And it kind of derailed everything. We were probably the only school who was upset that we didn't have state testing that year. But then we recovered from that. And then this past year, my last year as a high school principal, we were the first ever A-rated high school in Garland ISD with 2,700 students, big high school, diverse, Title I school, all of the challenges and obstacles that are there. But with a great staff, great students, great parents, we were able to make it happen.
Nice job. What I mean, I love the sound of all of that, and it sounds like you still have another chapter or two to write, so you're still right where you want to be. Tom, kick it down to you. Your rise to fame.
Absolutely. So yeah, and Michael, our connection, first time connecting here tonight, but we have some overlap in the way things occurred. I started out, I was a fourth grade teacher, taught at the elementary level, went to middle school, taught at the middle school level. And similar to Michael, I had a principal. I was at master's 30 at this point. I was teaching sixth, seventh, and eighth grade, was doing some digital things, technology oriented things, loving my world, loving what I was doing. Had the principal at the time walk into my room and say, I'm going to be done in about the next 3 years. I want to see you running the building when I leave. And I didn't have my principal certification. I had nothing. So I went back. And even though I was kind of at the top of the scale from credit wise, I finished up the next degree. And little did I know, and I'm sure in retrospect knew it at the time, the assistant principal was leaving, retiring a year later, gave me an opportunity. And then so I was an assistant principal at a middle school level for a number of years, went to elementary. I was an elementary principal. Then I went to district office. I obviously couldn't keep a job. So now I work out of Washington, D.C. Like, makes total sense, right? So now, so I got recruited to go to D.C. about 8 years ago. So part of my role in working for All for Ed, which Future Ready Schools is part of, is working alongside the Senate, the Congress, the White House, bipartisan, both sides of the aisle. And then also from a Future Ready end, working with school and district leaders around the country for leadership capacity, human development, culture, and leveraging pieces of the Future Ready framework to be able to support systems change. And so honored to do the work that I do, because no matter where I go in the country, love being in Massachusetts with you all or down there in Texas with you all. There's amazing people working ridiculously hard for kids. So it's a complete honor to do what I do.
Awesome. So if you're out there, you know where to reach out. These two guys right there, they're bringing the fire. So make sure you make those connections there on social media. So let's go a little bit deeper into Michael and Tom right now. Hey, Tom, who's your role model in education?
You know, it's funny that you asked that, because it was just a few moments ago before we went live. I just got a text from one of my best friends, Marlon Stiles, superintendent in Ohio. Marlon's a really close friend, and he just snapped a selfie. He's out in California now at the League of Innovative Schools convening with my superintendent that I worked under, that walked into my principal meeting one time towards the end of the year, similar to the conversation with Michael again, and looked at me and said, like, I got an opportunity for you. And you know how that goes when the superintendent walks in, like the opportunity, right? Could be a really good thing or a really bad thing. Like, either way you look at it, I think it was a good thing. Anyway, she brought me to district office and was just an incredible leader. And so I'm going to give a shout out to Dr. Lisa Andraco. She's working for a variety of companies. She's a retired superintendent. So on the tail end of her career, kind of doing what she wants to do. The reason I would say she's truly a role model for me is, if there's anybody I've ever worked with that have the true, like, do whatever it takes for kids mindset, it was her. Let me give you some examples. She was talking about home access and students that didn't have home access in 2007, 2008, and what we were going to do about it. That was 14 years ago. Yeah. Some people are like, oh, COVID hit. Gee, like 70% of teachers are asking kids to do something digital, but kids don't have access at home. Maybe we should do something about it. Like, where were we in 2018, 2015, 2012, right? And so we look at it like literally 14 years ahead of it. Also in Pennsylvania, it's different. The way it's funded in Texas is also different the way it's funded in Massachusetts. But our cyber charter laws are very, very different. So in Pennsylvania, if a child leaves or a family elects that child goes to a cyber charter, not only do we lose state funding, but you actually pay the tuition as the school district. So Lisa, as my superintendent, when I moved over to district office, we had almost about $2 million in kids that we had to pay for that went to cyber charter school that we never saw. And so not just losing their state funding, but also paying tuition. So a regular ed student was $12,000 at the time. Any sort of special needs with a child, could be a speech IEP, was $24,000 for a child at the time. We had one family, 4 kids, all had IEPs that cost us $100,000 as a district. They went on to an online cyber charter. So in 2009, Lisa, the vision of the superintendent, and said, let's create our own. Why don't we, if we're not meeting the needs, like if people are leaving us, there's multiple ways to look at that. If people are leaving us, we can just keep throwing our hands up and saying it's not fair. We can actually do something about it and be like, well, why are they leaving? right? There's a noble idea. So that's what she asked. And we weren't meeting the needs of certain students. And so when I went to district office, I helped a program. We created our own full-time virtual school, K to 12, where kids could come K to 12, be part of our campus. At the high school level, we created truly a college campus feel. Kids could come for 2 periods a day. They could go home for the rest of the time. We went fully standards-based with standards-based grading, completely K-12 under her tenure. And so that was in the virtual school that we created was 2010, 2011, 2012. And they're on like, so when the pandemic hit and people were like, how do we teach virtually? Like I was having massive flashbacks from 10 years prior. So at that point in time, we were one of the only virtual schools in a public school in the country going back 12 years ago, having gone completely standards aligned, standards-based grading, like not like getting rid of the completely obsolete 100-point scale and doing that. That was all because of her leadership. And so when I think about somebody that I admire, I point to her because she fought the battles, she had the scars, and she was willing to do what others were not willing to do in tackling massive things like home access, learning differently, learning outside of school, changing those, shifting grading practices, things that are kind of like, yeah, I'm not touching that one. She was like, if that's what we need to do for kids, that's what we're going to do, and completely transformed so much under our tenure. And so I give her a lot of credit. And so when I look at somebody that's a role model, she did what was needed to be done, regardless of the scars that may come with it.
Isn't that amazing that we're around people like that influence us and keep that fire burning? That's awesome. Yeah. Hey, Dean, as creator of Unlock the Middle, I've never asked you this question. Who is your role model in education?
Geez, my role model in education, probably, boy, I didn't think you're going to throw that one at me. So I'm going to step back for a second and think about this. I've had a few, and I remember when I was in the classroom teaching history for the first 10 years of my career, and coming in with that briefcase, doing your lessons, just sticking it, doing the best you can. I do remember getting a tap on the shoulder by a current leader, Sean Gilrain. At the time, he was the principal of the school, and said, listen, there's a place for you if you want to move on and move up. We like what you do. We like how you approach your business. And we like how you interact with people. And, I was coaching high school basketball at the time and loving teaching, and had that vision of coaching and having my kids play for me, my son play for me, and do all the fun things. And that tap on the shoulder made me realize there's more to life, and I could coach a bigger basketball team, maybe like a whole school someday. Consider that the coaching realm. And, I took that shoulder tap and went back and got my second master's in leadership and administration. And then next thing you know, I'm an assistant principal. So I owe a lot to Sean and Al Thibodeau, who was the sitting superintendent at the time. I remember the day that I was working outside the agency, and he said, outside of the business, and he goes, I got 200 applicants in front of me right now. If you want to be considered, I want to see you in my office in the next 10 minutes. And you're talking 1993. So I run up there, and I remember signing that first contract, and it's $26,000, $26,500, whatever it was. And I thought I was going to just fall into it and have a great time. And, there was no looking back. And each day is an opportunity to grow and become stronger. And I don't even know where I'm going to go when I grow up and get out of middle school. So I know there are other chapters out there, but I'd say that those two guys really led my way. So great question, Josh.
Awesome. Thanks. I know you were
Wise
ready
guy.
for that. Where does an A-rated principal get his fire from, Michael Arreola? Where? I need to know.
Yeah, I think we all remember the first person that really saw the leadership potential in you, and definitely, like I will always love her for that. But then when you get that first job and that principal that you're under as an AP, that really that you see and you just like wonder, how in the world do they know how to do this, and how in the world are they coming up with these ideas and this innovation? And so I was so fortunate. For me, it would be Georgianne Warnock. She's the superintendent at Terrell ISD now here in Texas. But she was the principal at R.L. Turner and took that campus from being an AYP on the verge of being taken over by the state, and really made it a great turnaround school, and didn't stop there. She was talking about small learning communities, talking about digital learning, all of these things well before most people had even thought about it. And so her willingness to do whatever it took, and having that, what I call like state of the art awareness, like knowing everything that's going on, pushing me to go out to ASCD conferences to, hear these amazing people speak and bring back great ideas from all over the country. Like, that's something that I'll never forget. And she's continuing to do that even now in her leadership role. But I've been very fortunate. I work for some great leaders now that really inspire me and motivate me. But she would be the original for sure.
JT, you're not alone. Let's go, brother. Let's hear yours. Come on.
Well, I like to share, like all of us, we have plenty of people that have influenced us and touched our lives one way or the other. But you know what? It was a person that opened the door for the current position that I'm at as sitting in the main chair. Her name is Carmen Crocé, and she was the area superintendent for high schools in Socorro ISD. And she did a great job being at the neighboring high school district at Del Valle High School, and kept that going. That was one of those high schools that just was itself. It was fluent. It was a running machine. It's still a running machine. And then she went over to the adjacent district, and under her leadership, under her guidance, and never giving up, she did everything possible. Obviously, it takes more than that, but it takes a lot to get the high schools to be at the par to where that whole district turned into an A-rated district. Socorro ISD, with all the distinctions, being recognized by HEB as one of the best districts. And El Paso has no HEBs, but they recognize Socorro ISD under her vision and guidance and always being there. And most importantly, one of the things that I learned a lot from her is always the passion and advocating for kids, putting kids first. And you know what? Sometimes when you reach that ivory tower, you forget that. You forget what the purpose of everything is. And you get stuck on programs, you get stuck on MOUs, you get stuck on all that noise, and you forget what the foundation is. Connecting with them to where they'll walk on fire for us. So ultimately, Carmen Crocé, who believed in me, who opened the door to sit at the principal's level, and her hard work and dedication to making sure that Socorro was an A-rated district, much props to you.
There's a bunch of people right there just getting some props about helping us get to where we are today. Hey, let's talk quickly about the past, this post-COVID time period. In a very short statement or two, let's talk about how's it going for you. Michael, you start off first.
Well, it was a challenge. It was a challenge, and it was something that really the equity gap, like it just was so exposed after COVID. So it's just trying to get kids back into structure, and they've been used to parenting themselves and having a lot of self, authority over themselves, and now they're getting used to coming back to school. So it's been a great challenge.
Yeah, you talk about getting back into learning shape. It's hard. There's no doubt about it, and it's time consuming. It doesn't happen overnight. So agreed wholeheartedly. Tom.
So I would agree on the equity piece, and I think it's important to note, COVID didn't create equity issues. It amplified them, right? And so when we take a look at it, I think when the transitions that have happened, I think districts have made incredible equity statements in terms of, when the pandemic hit and those things happened and we're handing out hotspots left and right. We're doing all these things. You want to know how your district really felt about equity? Did they take them all back? Because now we recognize the need and we put them all out there. And now a lot of times we're pulling these things back, and that shows really where they were. So I think that the equity piece, the exposure, as Michael said, that totally agree. Related to that, I see that, when we take a look at the move to SEL and the amplification of that, I mean, great places have always been doing that and recognizing the human side of the work. My fear is we start to drift back away from that, and I really believe that these obstacles have created opportunities. And so getting to work nationally, you do see so many things post-COVID that have changed in some places, and in other places we're right back to 2019. And so taking a look, I think it's very dependent on the place. It's very dependent on the leadership that's there. But I'm always full of hope because I believe in the work of our leaders.
Yeah, they're going to be visionaries. If they are, guess what? We're going to embrace it and move forward. Good stuff right there. JT, Principal, Tova.
Well, the thing that I could say based on the sphere of influence that I have for the last couple of years, since I was hired in Garland, at the start, literally when the schools closed, I was running the school from El Paso and the schools in northern Dallas. And then once it supposedly went away, and now we moved our family over here, all the students that I deal with are the ones that I mentioned earlier. All my Jaguars are brand newcomers to the United States. So as it is, they've always had that adversity and those obstacles in life, whether coming over here and becoming part of a new culture. There's a second part to our program, which has to do with the kids that are at risk because either they're teen parents that have obstacles created by themselves or by society. And so these students are always breaking their nose. So they've had years of COVID stuff, the noise that's out there. And I think that we've been very blessed by having an awesome team to where they've been united. It's a small faculty, a small group of people. And as long as you rally the troops, making sure that they care about each other and the kids care, they feel that connection because you know what? Kids don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And then once we make that decision as adults, they will walk on fire for us. And I feel that that's what's been one of the successes that we've had at our campus, regardless of the noise that's going around there, is we've been able to connect with each other as adults, but most importantly, connecting with the kids. And that makes us a good, strong, united union. And so for us, because of the specialty of our campus, I feel that right now it's just maintaining the unity. And once you create that culture, and I think both Michael and Tom and you can agree, once you walk into a campus and you feel it, it just keeps on running itself. Once everyone feels that you're working under the same vision and rowing in the same direction, everything that's out there will stay outside in the street and it will not come into the body of the campus. And so right now, just making sure that we maintain that culture. And it took a while, let me tell you, since the beginning to right now, it takes a while to establish that, to establish those norms and that caring feeling. But right now, as of this section of the school year, yeah, we've had our stuff like anybody else. But ultimately, I feel that right now, for the Jaguars and Garland ISD, I think we're doing a very effective job as a collective, students and adults. What about you, Dean?
Well, at the end of the day, I'm 100% in agreement with the idea that there's just so much that we can control, so much that we can't control, and at the end of the day, when we start looking at how COVID has kicked us back on our feet, we have to move forward. There's no doubt about that. We have to embrace the ability for all kids to be able to learn, making sure that we remove the barriers for learning, looking at universal design for things, continuous growth mindset for our staff, and thinking about tomorrow, and still continue to change the way that we're educating our kids and providing the tools for our staff to be successful. So it's just a perpetual wheel, and it blends in with being that visionary thinker. And from the leadership role down, that's going to trickle out into everywhere in your school. And if you're doing that, the schools are growing and the schools are becoming better. And we're meeting the needs of kids and meeting them where they are, because that's the only way we're going to get them to move forward. There's no doubt about it.
So, Tom, based on all the different parts of the country that you're always experiencing, influencing, learning from, what do you foresee in 2023 that might be coming to us, or that we need to pivot? Any kind of changes that are out there based on the trajectory of this first semester?
Yeah, so a lot of things come to mind there. First, I think as leaders, we need to focus on sustainability. We're getting more federal funds than we ever have because of COVID. I work on a lot of that stuff. My team does in DC. The influx of funds we'll take, we certainly need, but it dries up in a year and a half. So my fear is we're going to have a massive fiscal crisis in education in about 2 years if we haven't planned really, really well. And I think so one of the pieces we have to be really conscious of in the spring and moving forward is looking at how that money's being spent, where it's going. And if we're buying stuff, like what's the time period things have to be replaced? Where's that money going to come from? If we've hired people, we've got to be really conscious of that. So one, I think we need to really focus on or refocus on sustainability because the funds that we have now are going to dip and when those funds run dry. Second, I think we need to do a lot of healing in education. Leaders have been leading throughout this pandemic for so long that they've been just leading through crisis road. Like leaders are always, the three of you still are always on the rat wheel, always going, never stopping, right? And so when you take that piece and you maximize it or amplify it by all the chaos of the politics at board meetings in communities, there's so much distrust right now because of some talking points on whatever side of the news stations that you want to look at, that I really think we need to heal as an educational community and a community as a whole. And so part of it would be maintaining those existing relationships with our families, but almost going back to the root of building trust with them and recognizing, hey, here's maybe what you saw in the news, but here's what actually happens in our building. And we have to remember as leaders, like, you are so deep in the weeds every day. You know your classrooms, you know your curriculum, you know the assessments, you know your libraries, you know what happens. But the average parent, how much time do they spend in a building? How much time outside of a PTO event? So they don't really know unless we're really giving them good glimpses in. So the second piece there, I think we need to spend some time healing both internally and externally from that. Not that the pandemic is completely over. I understand that. Don't hit me on Twitter for that. I get it. But hear me out for a moment. I think the healing can also occur with the community. And I think the way we do that is to solidify trust, continue to amplify the great things that are happening every single day, and building that relationship. I think those between sustainability and the healing around trust, I think are vital for the spring.
Mike, from the district level, what are you seeing?
I think the biggest issue, like right now, is just the number of brand new teachers, right? And I feel like as districts, as a profession, we've counted on teacher preparation programs at the universities to prepare teachers to be ready to step in right away. And because of the shortages, now we're having to rely on an even larger number of alternative certification teachers, and now even teachers with no certification. And so if we don't up our game, not at the district level, they're going to have their programs, but the teachers are loyal, just like we're loyal to the people that developed us and the people that invested time in us. So the schools, the campus they have to have those strong teacher preparation programs to replace what they missed at the university, while still expecting really great results from them. Is just an incredible challenge.
What do you see, Dean?
I'm going to go back to, and I'm going to first start off by saying I love the healing part, Tom, because you're absolutely right. We all do need to heal. We need to get rebalanced. We need to get back in the driver's seat of what education was once for. And now it's providing great opportunities for kids to have great experiences in classrooms. But I'm going to look at it through the lens where I'm seeing students, reprogramming students to be the best learner they can be. You went 2 years without rigor embedded in what they were doing. Now you're asking kids to do homework, and they haven't done homework at a level like this in a long time. We were patching it last year, but that growth and sustainability to be able to embed that rigor and to get the most out of learning for kids, to stretch them in preparation to be able to be ready for that next level of learning and whatever that is. It's one of the hardest things that teachers are doing right now, because it has to happen at a slow rate. It just doesn't happen overnight. And that goes back to cultivating those relationships like you talk about all the time, Josh. If you don't have every one of those students looking at you with their eyes wide open, and leading towards and having that great engagement within class, they're not going to learn. They're going to fall back on their heels. And so our job is to make sure that we're giving lessons and providing lessons that are really making these kids take off and get excited about learning. So again, that process is going to take some time. So that sustainability of that learning zone, that's something that we got to really focus on.
And I just would add exactly what Mike said. It's just our brand new team members. The hard part is, for me, and this is my 2 cents. You could teach teaching if you're an effective instructional leader. You could teach that. You can't teach or coach caring for kids. Yeah. You can't teach and inspire someone to walk on fire for kids, and they will in turn walk on fire for you. And right now, a lot of the candidates don't bring that fire, like that one student that went from high school to college to become a teacher because they were always playing teacher as little kids. A lot of those candidates are gone. And so right now it's about, when you hire somebody, they're not the right fit to educate kids. They might be the great fit for business, for whatever it might be. So right now I'm running into, and I've observed, and I've heard other people say the same thing, that our team members that we're hiring, they don't have that connection that inspired the majority of us when we got into the business in the 90s, in the zeros, in the tens, which was either to become a great coach, right, guys? Coaching, you make that connection. That a bunch of history nerds here, I hear, that love for the art, the love for the subject, that you instill that passion to the kids. And they say, wow, I see what through your eyes. And that creates that passion and that desire in education to create all the other fields around us. So I feel that right now it's making sure that us that sit in our chair, Dean, that we make sure that we have the wherewithal to coach the coaches in the classroom and always remind them that our purpose is to connect with kids. That has to be that whole purpose of ours, sitting in our chair right now, as Tom says, healing. As we go through this whole healing session, making sure that we keep uniting everyone together under the same purpose, student success.
Speaking of coaching, and we're all coaches at heart. I don't care if you're a teacher, a building principal, whatever, you're a coach. You're actually selling something. You're selling a good to somebody. So at the end of the day, what is something you look for in leaders within your district that really is the thing that stands out the most? And Josh, just kick it down to you. We'll go around to Tom and then up to Michael.
Do as I do, not do as I say. Role model the expectation. It's always important that you are seen visible and you're doing it. You cannot fake the funk from your chair, growing a desk from your chest. You have to be out there role modeling the expectations.
Tom.
So well said. Build on that and talk about integrity. If folks in your area know that you don't have integrity, they're not going to trust your choices. And we know trust is the foundation of leadership and decisions. I would also add the ability and willingness to make the challenging calls when needed, have those difficult conversations when needed. And also, I would say just a vision of equity, somebody that truly believes that all means all and truly wants to make sure that every child, not those from a zip code end, not those, from a particular zip code, particular race, particular whatever you want to fill in the blank, but truly believes that all means all. Everybody can say it, but your actions speak louder when it comes to that. And so those are a couple things that I would add.
Mike, I'm sorry you're going last on this one because you got a couple of good answers.
Yeah, so I was go back to the Ideal Team Player, the book by Lencioni. You want people that are hungry, humble, and smart, and that's what I look for leaders. People that they can't get enough learning. They know that they don't know it all, and they're humble that way, but they want to be the best and they want to be great, and they know people and they know how to build great relationships. And you can see it. You can walk the building with them, and you can see it. How many people talk to them? How the kids talk to them? All of it.
And I'll tell you, that's a true way of recognizing it, how the kids will respond, how your teachers will approach you, all those type of things. It's really important. And that's ultimately our job when we stop and look about what leadership is all about in the end. So thanks for sharing all that. Hey, let's quickly go over to podcasts and how a podcast help you change who you are and what you're all about. Michael, you're up.
I think it goes back to that hungry, right? And wanting to be aware of everything. And to me, there's so many leadership podcasts because ultimately we're leaders. So whether you're a business leader, social sector, whatever it is, there's so many great leadership podcasts that can help you become a better leader because of skills, but also give you ways to motivate your staff, motivate your students. I listen to so many leadership podcasts, and they just have made me a better leader and better teacher, better principal, all of it.
Tom.
So I would add, get yourself out of the educational sphere and listen to things that have nothing, that aren't for education, but you can deem lessons from them. My good friend Inky Johnson has an incredible podcast around adversity. And so much from a leadership lens is so relevant related to that. So I think sometimes some of the best experiences can be when we remove ourselves from our typical echo chambers, be able to do that. Now that I said that, if you're looking for a great podcast, at Future Ready, we have 4 of them. And I would encourage you to check out Leading Through Unprecedented Times, which is one that I lead, talking to superintendents, talking to principals, have to have you all on in the next season. Other people like John Gordon and people like that as well around leadership, just fabulous. Adam and Carl run Undisrupted. So one for tech leaders, if you're looking at something like that. Leading Through the Library with Shannon Miller is another one for instructional coaches. So I encourage you to check those out. Bottom line, they're short, they're sweet, to the point, and you can do it as a passive experience while you're driving, while you're stuck in traffic. And I think sometimes when we get a little bit of downtime, it's a way to just absorb and to process in a passive experience, which can be great.
Josh.
A lot of people, you hear all these podcasts and everyone has the same theme. Well, because of Corona, I had an idea and I started one because of this, right? A lot of them started that way within our sphere, within our echo chamber, as it said. But I feel that it's such an awesome, rejuvenating thought when I like hearing things from Chev and Pav, Brad Hughes from Canada. hearing all of these different podcasts, Lene, grateful, I don't know, other podcasts that I hear. There's so many that they're going in there. But it just allows me to refresh my batteries and remember the purpose every day, the why. That's where we lose in our chair. People that sit in our chair forget the reason why you're in that leadership role. And when you forget that, that's when everything starts breaking down in that vehicle that's known as your school. So as long as you're always there reminding yourself of the why, and you have a different voice telling you, this is why we're doing it, that's that quick slap in the morning and say, the Macaulay Culkin in the morning and say, hey, don't forget why you're sitting in that chair, because you're helping another dad's child. You're helping another colleague get ahead. All those situations are reminders via those podcasts. And you know what? It's free. It's free PD. There's no excuses why you're not taking advantage of it.
And I tell you, I just like to soak up perspective, because there's so many ways to get to a certain endpoint of things. And the methodology is how I grow, because everybody has those tools out there that are a little bit different. And if you just are willing to listen, your toolbox is going to just become so full with great ideas and great opportunities to become better. So it's a win-win across the board. Hey, we're on that last question right now. This is the good one. This is the quick one. Josh, why don't you take it?
All right. All the years of experience, all those influences, everything that you bring to the table. Michael Ariola, a campus principal, former. Give some knowledge, some advice, something that you've learned along your trajectory that someone out there will connect with you tonight, or maybe in the rebroadcast, and say, I remember that guy on that podcast. Some advice.
That's, no pressure, right? We spend a lot of time accumulating experiences, and sometimes it's not fun, but we get them all for a reason, is to share, like all the hardships, everything you go through. At the end of the day, I think about my childhood growing up, and all the difficulties and the things that challenges that I just hated. I hated it growing up. But everything that I hated the most has helped me make a connection with a student. And it's a divine, like, we're here for a reason. You're in that building, whether you're a teacher, custodian, like, you have the ability, especially the principal, you have the ability to say something that's going to change a kid's life, like, for the better or for the worse. And when you're the principal and you walk around that school, the way you talk to kids, they remember it. Like, oh my God, the principal, he talked to, like, the principal knew my name. Like, those types of things, like, take advantage of that. Use it. Be a powerful presence, be a powerful, like, advocate for students, change their lives, because there's so many influences out there. You have a great opportunity to be a great, powerful influence. So take advantage of it.
Tom.
So somebody that I love talks about the power of choosing your lens each day. If you got up this morning and you want to see negativity in our world, you're going to see it all over the place. You got up this morning, you want to see greatness in our world, you're going to see it all over the place, especially in those moments with kids, right? And so as leaders, the stuff is going to come. Like, it's not if, it's when. The crises are going to happen. When it's not COVID, it's going to be something else. And when it's not that something else, it'll be something else. Things will come. But recognize those moments each and every day, those power in those moments. I really believe a single interaction can truly change a person's life forever. And it's those moments that don't often show up in lesson plans for teachers that are the ones that are remembered 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. And every one of those days is an opportunity to create environments where people want to be. And so with that, you got to choose your lens as leaders to look for the greatness each and every day. Get out of your office, look for the greatness, choose your lens. It's going to be hard, but I know our kids are worth it.
Dean.
Find your why. You get into leadership for a reason, and that's all about, connecting with people. You've got one shot to really connect with the people that are in front of you, and you don't want to blow that shot, because credibility will lie behind it. There's no doubt about it. So every kid deserves a champion. Every kid deserves an opportunity to be heard. And it's your job as a leader in a building to make sure that your building is that place where they want to come each and every day, regardless of the struggles that they might have. And they come to us with all kinds of struggles. The happy place is a place where you can learn and you can grow. So remember that next time that you want to put compliance before learning, okay? Because compliance has a place in this world. There's no doubt about that. But through adolescent growth, compliance is just this much of a piece of it, okay? Helping them understand global issues and becoming good learners and good people will trump all of that all the time. Josh.
Remember that there's a lot of kids that were like me. I was an immigrant to this country. I had to learn English. I'm a product of divorce. I'm a child of divorce. I drank my life away in high school. I was a loser, graduated at the bottom of my class. No one believed in me that sat in the classroom. There is hope for all of us as long as someone believes in us. Every single last person on that campus can believe in us. I am the son of Virginia and Jesus Tovar, and I am their American dream. Irregardless of the obstacles that I faced, irregardless of the obstacles that I created, that's my past. It did not define us. It didn't define me. So ultimately, remember, guys, that we do turn around. You cannot tap us out. You cannot give up on us, because we are, at that point, the kids are the future of this beautiful, beautiful country. Don't forget, the better we prepare them, the better this country will be, the better we'll keep moving ahead and creating a better melting pot for the whole United States, from one coast to the other one.
I'm just going to say I'm glad I didn't have to follow that one is all I'm going to say, because you just dropped the mic. I mean, talk about it and wrapping up a show. So thank you for going last is all I have to say.
Josh is always good for that. You never know what's coming around the corner with him. Hey, Michael, Tom, Josh, obviously great show again tonight. I want to thank you guys very much for being here, sharing perspective, sharing knowledge, dropping those nuggets. Anybody who watches this on the rerun or whatever, they're going to get a little bit better. And again, it's all because of people like you willing to give up some time and share out some of the knowledge base that you have. So thank you very much. Josh, anything else, Charlotte?
Hey, it's Thursday.
Touchdown.
It's football. You know what we just did? We scored a touchdown, Dean. We scored another touchdown in the red zone. We did a dive up the A-gap. Boom. We just won the homecoming game tonight. So don't forget, when you see this on the rebroadcast, share and like it. But the flagship show on Sunday, 7 p.m., Tom Schimmer will be joining us, our guest, 7 p.m. Eastern. Come and join us in the flagship show on Sunday. Don't forget the Fantastic Four. Don't forget Coach Hurt at 10 o'clock, Sheikah Houston at 10:30, and Principal Cafele, your happy birthday over there in Jamaica, 10:55. Fantastic Four, Red Zone, touchdown. Let's go home, Dean.
Let's do it. Hey, guys, thank you very much again. We appreciate all you guys. I wish everybody out there a great week. Keep being a champion for kids, because every child deserves that. Take care, everybody. Thanks for joining us.